It's been such an absolute gift to bring this conversation around Canada from coast to coast to coast, to bring this conversation into each community, and it has been the absolute gift to feel the support and feel the caring and understanding and commitment to this major issue that affects every one of us. This is all about mental health. This is all about elevating the conversation, raising the level of conversation, and just facing the reality that this is something that affects every single Canadian. If you're not one of the 1 in 5 who suffers from mental illness in their lifetime, you are one that is connected to the person who struggles. It's Clara's big ride, and as we move across Canada, it is Canada's big ride. And I get to share too how I've been so inspired along the way as to what Canadians are willing to do to make it better and not sit and wait for people to do it for them.
Ladies and gentlemen, please give a warm YUKON welcome to Clara Hughes.
Thank you so much, everyone, for welcoming us here. We just rode in yesterday and got in way too late into Dawson after 750 kilometers or so, 37 hours and 17 minutes, and 23,000 feet of elevation gain, all on our bicycles on the DEMPSTER. Mental health matters to all Canadians, and that's the message that we're bringing back from this big ride into Ottawa and Canada Day. And now I feel that we can honestly say that we have spent some time in the north and really gotten a feel for what's going on. I'm excited to be here in Whitehorse to learn about what the mental health landscape is here, what is happening, what needs to happen. And we're on day 60 today. It has been epic. It has been larger than life. It has been the most exhausting thing I've ever done in my life, and it has been the greatest gift of my life. So thank you. Really, really grateful to have our feet on the soil here. Thanks. I had the chance to be a part of the Bell Let's Talk campaign that started 4 years ago, and it was after the Vancouver Olympics. And I was actually on the roadshow with Bell Canada. And on that roadshow, I learned from George Cope, the CEO of Bell, that they were going to make a major push in mental health and do all their charitable giving and have this campaign. We think it's going to be called something like Let's Talk. This is the concept. And so he was sharing that with employees. And when I heard that, I would just ask George, I said, I'd love to be a part of this, and this is why. And why for me is that I have an experience, very personal, with mental illness, and I went through depression as a young athlete. And I have a family experience as well. My sister struggled very deeply with bipolar disorder. My dad struggled with alcoholism his whole life. But at the same time, I realized somehow that this was an opportunity to try to make a difference, not just in terms of how we perceive mental illness, but it was more that everybody after Vancouver, because people started to really recognize me a lot more because of that exposure. They always said to me in the airports or in the streets, I recognize you as soon as you smiled, you know, and I was just like, God, people have no idea, you know, and if I can actually share this struggle, and not just struggle in the physical sense, because sport is all about struggle and persevering, but really in the emotional sense. And if I can share that, maybe people can understand that this is something that can affect anybody. My family environment growing up was horrific. It really was. And I come from delinquency as well. I didn't make the best choices growing up. So these are all things that I share with kids just because it's a really hard thing to navigate adolescence, and to let them know that even if you are in a bad place, you can get out of it. And the most important thing is to find something that you connect to and be open to connecting to something that can pull you out of that.
This is a topic that was always behind the door and people didn't want to talk about. And now with people like Clara and organizations or corporations like Bell, we're really seeing the conversation come out front, and a real transition in our society about looking at this illness and really talking about it like diabetes or other illnesses as well.
It's just amazing the response that we've had from people in the communities, people who just want to come out and meet Clara as an Olympian, but also people who want to come out and talk to her about their stories with mental health as well. So again, it just shows the importance of the need to get out and talk about this topic.
Every single person has a story to be told. That's fundamentally just so, like, that is the case for everyone. Every person has a story. I just realized that there's so much more I can do with this, and what a great way to do it would be by bicycle, and to try to create this initiative that could go from coast to coast to coast to all the small communities, and just try to lift people up and open up the conversation in a way that we can leave a crack that is opened, that people in the communities can take and can make a difference, and hopefully can start to erase the stigma and have an impact on young Canadians to let them know that they have a significant role to play in erasing that stigma and in making Canada a better place. I love Northern Canada. My husband Peter Guzman also, you know, he loves it just because we feel like it's the most incredible cultural experience. We've had many in Northern Canada across, you know, the Eastern Arctic, up, you know, riding the Dempster Highway for our honeymoon. My husband has kayaked the entire Yukon River from the headwaters to the Bering Sea. He's kayaked the Inside Passage. He's done, you know, we've kayaked the east arm of the Great Slave Lake to a little village called Lutselk'e. And then we've just had great experiences everywhere culturally and just with the land, you know. And when you're with the land, you're with the people. And it's just been a combination of just being exposed to and having shared with us this rich connection with the land and the animals, and being in such awesome environments that is just this abundance of nature and landscape, and it draws me back time and again, and it's just always leaves me feeling so full as a human being.
Oh, wow. All right, we got a little welcome here with the kids. This is amazing. Got some Olympic rings.
It was my first time in NUNAVUT. That was my last, you know, territory, and I was really excited to go up to IQALUIT, and we had 3 days there, 2 nights. The first day we were there, we rode over to a little village called Apex, and it was funny because, you know, I always say that the bike is, it kind of like lays down all the arms. It allows you to be approachable. People are like, where have you come from? Where are you going? And when you ride your bike, it draws kids always. So we rode to this little village of Apex, really close to IQALUIT, and the kids started coming out on their bikes, and next thing you know, we're riding around and racing around their hood. And we just had this connection because we were on our bikes, and then we got this group shot of our little rat pack from Apex, and that was like the first day, and I was like, I can't believe we're riding our bikes on Baffin Island right now. It was just profound and so special. So that was a really special thing to do in NUNAVUT, our first day.
Day 51, we're heading over to RANKIN Inlet, and then Yellowknife. The big ride continues its odyssey of the north. Bye!
All right.
In RANKIN Inlet, we had a very short stay. It was only 2 or 3 hours, but a young woman named Daisy, she had, you know, organized a community event for us. She's an amazing young Canadian, and she is making a big difference with her work with mental health in the community. And she was telling me about the programs that she runs, and it was really cool because she uses like cultural reconnection, going out on the land, hunting, you know, it could be craft work, it could be beadwork. She uses all of that and then ties in literacy work at the end of it, because she's like, well, you know, some of the people, they aren't exposed to this, so we bring in elders to teach. And she said, but then we use it to help them find their place in the here and the now as well. So it's it was this amazing balance of that. She just so fundamentally understood it, that having that reconnection, that connection with the past, with the tradition and the history, but also having the skills to be in the here and the now, and it's all mental health work. So we we learned so much there, including drumming. I did get a drumming lesson from one of the drummers whose name was Paul. He came and his wife was singing and his daughters were singing as well. And his young son, Alexander, was playing the drum and he was learning, a very young boy. And it's just like that beautiful Inuit drum. And he was telling a story, you know, with his drum. And then they said, oh, Clara, Alexander wants to give you his drum. So I was like, really? This is so cool. So I did a little drumming and Paul gave me a little lesson. It's different how the woman holds it to the man. And it's really been amazing how we've been welcomed in. And I'm really, really grateful for it. It's a life experience.
We are in Yellowknife, Northwest Territories, home of the Great Slave Lake.
We're here at Sir John Franklin High School in Yellowknife, Northwest Territories, and we're here for Clara's big ride.
Please welcome Clara Hughes.
Yellowknife, we don't get very many visitors of that stature, you know, who's nationally known for all her accomplishments. So to have her here is a win for us in itself. And the fact that she's here to talk about mental health awareness is just even more of a prize for us. So that's why it's important for her to be here, because the kids really need some inspiration from a person like her.
When it comes to the struggle, and there's so many people that suffer in silence because they feel like they're afraid to talk to someone because someone might judge them. But it's all about opening up the conversation so nobody keeps that inside, because when you keep it inside, as you said, it just builds up. And it builds up to the point of imploding.
More and more youth would be more open to talk about it now. Whether they're experiencing it more or whether it was just something that they didn't talk about. But I think with more and more conversation about it and more supports going out into the different sectors, into the schools or into different areas in the communities, youth groups, they're more apt to put themselves out there a little bit more.
We're on day 53 of the big ride. We're here in Betchco in the Northwest Territories, and we drove about 100 kilometers from Yellowknife to come here, visit the schools, say hi to the students. I came here 4 years ago and came back for the big ride just to be able to share with the youth and it was amazing. I'm so glad we came out. We're so stoked to be here in Betchco. So stoked! We are. Mental illness is something that affected me, and there are people that have helped me along the way, and I've done nothing alone. And if I've learned anything from this ride, is that you can't do it alone, and that people are starting to realize that they're not alone in the struggle. And that's the most important thing for us, is people know that they're not alone. They sent us off and we rode from Betchco, but we didn't have time to ride all the way back to Yellowknife. We only got about a third of the way, and then we went to Detta.
You know, I think a lot of young people in the community are really anxious and excited to see Olympian come to our community. They even met her on the highway with their little bikes. So hopefully she can inspire some of the youth in our communities to achieving their goals. And it's a good message to our community and to the youth, saying that, you know, don't suffer alone. You know, you got a friend. So that's a message that could be relayed by the youth in the community.
Mental health, mental illness it's in our communities. It's in all our communities, and we can't ignore it forever. We have to deal with it. We have to deal with it as best we can as leaders, as our community members. We have to help them as much as we can.
We had drumming there as well. The guys did a song, they did a prayer song, and then they said, all right, let's clear the floor, and all the chairs went to the side, and then we did a drum dance, and one of the chiefs, he said, come on Clara, follow me. So I've had the experience of doing the drum dance before in Lutzelkay up on the Great Slave Lake through to, to the wee hours of the night. So I'm like, okay, I think I know how to do this. So I just followed him, and it was really fun. All the kids were there and the elders, and it was a great experience. And Dada as well. They gave me, from the Yellowknife Dene, they gave me their jacket, and on the back they had embroidered Clara's Big Ride. So it was super cool. Day 55, and we are about to start the biggest adventure of this whole big ride, the Dempster Highway. What do you think, guys?
We're ready.
Yeah, really excited for this.
Ready to roll. Woo! For this trip, there was no compromise in whether we were going to do the Dempster or not. It was logistically almost impossible with the rivers and everything. We didn't know what the roads would be like. Oh, you don't do that to carbon fiber bikes. But I tell you, I'd rather that than riding across the ice road at this moment in time. We were able to get helicopter transport over both the Mackenzie and the Peel. My only disappointment is that we just didn't have enough time to stop in Sigachik. It would have been really nice to stop in the community, but we did have a great time in Fort McPherson. It was unplanned. They just thought, something small happened there, but all the kids came and rode us into town and brought us to the youth center there, the community center, and all the kids were just surrounded me and asking me questions and looking at my shoes and my helmet. Really, we didn't know that you were going to do this for us, so this is so special. We just want to say thank you so much because you really did a nice thing for us today, and rolling into town and being so tired right now, you just put a big smile on our face. I feel like I could ride another couple hours now after being with you, or maybe go put the feet up. And then they were like, well, we have something to show you, and one of the young fiddlers, who I think he's about 17, he gave us his CD. He was playing, and another guy on the guitar, and then the grade 3s were doing their little jig. They had someone in the community who's really taken it upon herself to take leadership in that and teach the kids how to jig, and they had the best moves. We were just watching their feet go, and they were so proud. So, and then they got me up jigging, which I didn't do very well, but we got a few good laps. I had my cycling shoes on with my cleats. And then the next day, we didn't leave till like 12:30, and we rode 181 kilometers. We rode 10 and a half hours that day. It was too much, but we're like, well, if we don't make this today, then all the kilometers we don't do, they just add up and get bottom heavy. So Burke and me and Peter made a pact to get there, and no matter what. So this highway will do you in if you try to speed things up and go on your time. You go on Dempster time, and it forces you to just slow things down. And yesterday, the third day, we rode 5 hours, and we only rode 85 kilometers. It was just mud and just like riding through quicksand and clay and just hard, and just realizing we need to just step back and calm down. And then we got on our bikes at 9 a.m. today, and it was a fantastic day. I mean, we rode over 150 kilometers of just pure backcountry bliss. And we rode through 2 different mountain ranges and along the Peel River, and now we're camped along the Blackstone River. And it's just, it was like we could only enjoy today because we slowed it down yesterday. For me, I feel really good now finishing the Dempster tomorrow, because I feel like, okay, I've been able to just clear my head and just get some fun back in the riding. Last day of the Dempster, day 59. Day 59 of the big ride. Dawson bound, Dawson bound. Everybody knows we're Dawson bound. Then we're done with the Dempster on the big ride. It was a really great experience just being in this awe-inspiring place. It's really, like, I felt and I feel it's one of the truly most beautiful untouched places left on earth, and to be able to move through it by bicycle was an absolute gift. Everybody knows I'm Dawson bound. The whole Arctic experience, Northern experience, has been phenomenal, not just for me, but for the entire Big Ride team. It's been so meaningful, and I think it's really the heart of the whole trip has been the northern part, and it's what's going to bring us all the way back. The energy that we got up here and that was shared with us and given to us from the land and the people is what is going to let us ride that last 6,000 kilometers from Victoria all the way to Ottawa.
I think there's lots to do, and I think Clara Hughes' focus on youth is really important. We certainly have heard lots from the communities, from First Nations, that mental health services and supports for youth and their families is really important, and something that there's a lot of gaps right now that we need to fill and make sure that people and families and individuals have the support they need.
What Bell is doing is really starting that conversation, not only you know, at the corporate level, but I think businesses and public governments as well really can start having a very good discussion.
Businesses are starting to really understand that they actually can play the role before the government does and set the example, and Bell's an example of that. Other companies, RBC, and obviously Northwestel sponsored our whole Northern Odyssey.
Northwestel, as part of this, seeing all of the inspiration that Clara's given us, have decided to take our community investment and create an additional pillar, a pillar focused solely on mental health. I think it really has started to create more awareness around mental health, and the reality is, if you think about it, almost every one of us knows someone, whether it's a family member, a friend, who's afflicted with mental health. And I think it's really important that people understand that it's okay to talk about these things, to make sure that you're out and getting the support you need.
I really encourage people to talk about it. You see someone struggling, just ask them how they're doing. That's such a big thing. But also educate yourself. Be educated on what's available. There are programs everywhere, and here in the YUKON, Mental Health Association of the Yukon, you know, they just launched a big Facebook page, and they're like basically a grassroots organization that relies on private funding, on donation, and if you want to give your annual giving somewhere, give it to mental health. Our ride is not about fundraising. We don't take a dime, even if people offer it. It's like, I do take food, but no money. And we're set up that way that we're self-contained, and we have full corporate sponsorship to underwrite the ride from all realms of corporate Canada. So I really encourage people to look at what's going on in their backyard and what people are doing to try to make a difference, and realize that so many people are struggling in silence, and you can help end that silence. But also to support local mental health organizations, and find, if you don't like what you see, create your own initiative, make a difference, because it's amazing what one person can do. Amazing, and I've seen it all across Canada.